am Wyatt Hendrickson, your 2025 heavyweight national champion.
What's life been like since Saturday night?
It's been busy, but it's been a lot of gratefulness from the wrestling community, from the Air Force community, from the Stillwater community. It's stuff like that that makes it all worth it. It kind of brings you back into reality, and people they've been supportive of what I've done and what I'm going to continue to do over the next couple of years of my wrestling career and my military career. So it's been overwhelming, but I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
As an elite athlete who dreams big things, when you accomplish that dream, what's that feel like inside?
It just feels that much sweeter. I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life, all the way back to when I was a kid, sometimes missing some birthdays or missing something here and there because, we had to go to a wrestling tournament or, we had another training opportunity. So it's moments like that it was all worth it. My dad told me from day one, he's like, son, I know it's hard right now, but someday, you'll understand. And I remember giving my dad the biggest hug and just bursting into tears because we didn't even need to say anything to each other. We just both knew that all that hard work for the past 19 years, it's for moments like that you kind of realize, like, none of that time was wasted. There were some times in my wrestling career where I was getting a little bit tough. Maybe I wasn't doing so good and I wanted to give up, and my dad just always motivated me to keep pushing through it. And so, it's in the end, it was all worth it. And this is also, I'm not done yet. We still got a big path ahead that I'm looking to, obviously ending up in LA 2028. So, this was a really big event, but it's not over yet.
You mentioned you didn't have to say anything to your dad, but what has that conversation been like since Saturday night?
Yeah, they've just been like, hey, I know you're getting a lot of messages, but it's exciting for us too. They're getting calls all over the place, and it's all based around gratitude. Every time I've called my mom, every single time, bless her heart, I love her, she just starts crying into tears because, I have the Excalibur sword right here. This is for my dad, and my dad always told me from day one, he's like, you're going to be someone. You're going to do stuff that no one else can do. God has truly blessed you, and she just burst into tears because the blessings are just pouring in, and it's just, it's most literally unreal, these moments and all the support that my parents have gotten and just all the people that she's ever bumped into, and everyone's just so supportive of, my future career, and they're just excited for what's happened recently.
You talked a lot about Magic and David and all that, and David and Goliath yesterday, but what are one or two things that you did here that you didn't do at Air Force to make you a national champion?
I think it's the foundation was built at Air Force for sure. All the coaches I had there, the experience I had there was, I will never go back and trade that for anything in the world. Sometimes you look back like, man, I wish I would have paid attention. I think the biggest thing is I wish I would have paid attention to a few more of, Coach Joe Johnston and Coach Barber would always give me a few tips and tricks, and I would listen to them. I'd do it for a day, but I wouldn't consistently do it. So, it's the same things that those coaches were telling me. Coach Taylor said it, maybe just a little bit differently, and maybe I listened a little bit and I started using it continuously. So it's a little just the small wrestling things. For example, staying in your stance and always moving forward. It's way easier said than done, but it's just some things like that I wish I would have taken more seriously in my previous days of wrestling. But I think we've obviously developed my wrestling a little bit more, and we're going to continue to develop it. Just as any good athlete, it's important to kind of sometimes move around and get different perspectives because everyone sees something differently, and everybody will be able to connect differently. So I think this year has been a really big growth year on just communication, wrestling, and wrestling positions.
You ever had a tighter grip than you had on him the other night?
No, my face in that match, I looked back and it looked like this, and that's because I was squeezing him so tight. I remember I just didn't want to lock my hands, but I had a tight waist and all my pressure was on him, and I love watching that video again because when he was trying to stand up, he was really trying to stand up, but I was putting every single ounce of effort I had into holding him down, and he tried to turn into me, but that's just where that squeeze was coming in because I was holding, I was squeezing, and I was like, I'm not letting this guy go. So rewatching that, it's exciting because every single muscle in my body was flexed, including my brain. I was trying to think of not locking my hands, and it's important in those situations to not think of, oh, am I locking my hands? Is he going to stand up? My mindset was more just, hey, let's keep him down. Let's be positive. If you're a competitive skier going down a mountain, if you're focused on all the trees you're dodging, you're going to get hit. You're focused on the stuff that's in your way, not your actual path. So I think it was important there to snap back into it and be like, hey, I don't need to worry about if I'm going to lock my hands, if I'm going to get another stalling call. I took a breath right there and just held him down and was focused on my wrestling.
As a big guy, you guys went hard in the first period.
Yeah.
Was the second period, take me through the first period, but then was the second period just trying to catch your breath, do you think, for both of you guys?
Yeah.
To the third?
I mean, instances like that where there's a couple big scrambles, and all I know is that whenever you're wrestling, if you're feeling it, your opponent probably is too. And Gable does a great job at making you carry his weight and his ties and his attacks, and I knew going into that match I was going to have to be a little bit more reserved. We called it controlled chaos, so I didn't want to go out there and just take 20,000 shots, and just waste that energy. So, being able to wrestle that match smart was going to be important. And whenever we were in those situations where it looked like nothing was happening, that was in my favor 100%, because Gable likes to move you and control you, but my ties were very specific to stopping that. And of course he got to a couple attacks. Everything's, nothing's ever perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect wrestling match. But in those instances, it was definitely favoring me, because I know I threw him off when I first got into that scramble. He was not expecting that. And after that, you could tell it was just the pace of the match was a little bit different, which is exactly what I needed to set myself up perfectly to, take that final shot and take that final chance at getting his leg. And I knew it needed to be a good attack. And it took a little bit of time to set it up and to get that shot. But I mean, just watching that over and over is just that knee slide, two, and just, oh my goodness, the camera on the audio just goes crazy. And I'm like, this is insane. It was a great day.
35 seconds remaining. Wyatt Hendrickson, another shot. He gets to the right leg, trying to pick it up. Steveson trying to fight him off. Hendrickson's got both legs and a takedown. Wyatt Hendrickson with a takedown with 18 seconds remaining. He's got a 5-4 lead. He's got Steveson on the mat. Can he ride it out? 10 seconds. Steveson trying to get to his feet. And he puts him back on the mat. And it's over. Wyatt Hendrickson with the takedown upsets Gable Steveson. 5-4 the final. Wow.
Famous photo that's out there of your coaches and your trainer. What do you think about that?
It's just raw emotion. Stuff like that, that's what you live for. And rewatching it, Coach Caldwell, we know it when he gets unpredictable, we know he's gonna start punching people. He was just sitting there punching Coach Taylor, and Coach Taylor was just trying to breathe. He was like, hold on. And I just think it's pure raw emotion. I mean, even for me, after I won that match, I just fell back. I'm like, I didn't know what to do, what to think, what to feel. All I knew is I was a national champion. So seeing those pictures of them just gets me excited, because I knew they believed in me from day one. And seeing those dividends pay out and actually see that hard work pay off, getting the national championship. I mean, I would have been kind of upset if they were content, if they were just sitting there kind of relaxed. I'd be like, what the heck's going on here? Then there's times to be, I expected this. For a good example, after I wrestled that match, you look at the film, my dad literally collapsed, didn't know what to do. My best friend Calvin's son jumping up like crazy. My girlfriend Emily they're just going nuts. And my mom is just sitting there like clapping, like, yeah, I knew what happened. Like, she said she had a couple visions, and through prayer she was just like, son, she knew I was gonna win that match. And so for her, it wasn't quite much of a surprise, which out of that whole arena, I think my mom was the most calm person. She was just sitting there like, yeah, great job, and everyone else is just, we're losing our crap.
So you're getting ready for your match. Do you know Dean's won?
I did. Funny story about that. I usually like to section myself off, do my own thing. But, because President Trump was there, they had some of the areas locked down, and they gave us some different wrestling mats. And in the wrestling warm-up area, there was a TV, of course, with Dean, and we had him turn the volume all the way down. But, we had Dr. Brandon Mason in there. We had Nick, our weight trainer, and our masseuse Nick in there. Our massage therapist Nick. And so when I was getting ready to go, I could hear them reacting, and you're like, oh, reacting to the match. And I tried to look up, and Luke Serber was there just like a little kid putting his hands up like no, like focus on the match. But I got my warm up in, and I just remember hearing him one more time like say oh, and then just start going kind of nuts, and then I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure Dean might have won that match. So
does that do anything for you?
I think I've done a really good job at kind of taking a step back, because there's moments like that where someone might need that, when you're watching, and if you think someone's going to win, it's going to help you. It's good to boost your, mental attitude. But for me, I think it's important that I try not to let it affect me, because if it's great, awesome. But if it's not good, that's not going to be the best for my mental state sometimes. So I've done a pretty good job at taking myself out of the situation and just being able to kind of just be okay and content with anything and just focus on myself. And I think a lot of the team has done a great job of that, because if we're all focused on ourselves, results are going to speak for themselves. And after you add up all of our points at the end of a duel, hopefully it'll be in our favor.
What was it like celebrating with him afterwards when you both, because you're the loud guy. He's, from what I've seen, is not nearly, as
Dean's just got that flow.
Yeah.
I think it was, I locked eyes with him after I was in the back, and I'm like, we freaking did it, dude. We freaking did it. So just, even with the whole team, just seeing everyone else, because just what you guys saw out there on the mat, when I saw the boys, they were the same way. It was just like, if you've ever seen Nacho Libre and he takes down Ramses, everyone's just like, we did it! We did it! We did it! So it was kind of our own little moment in the back there. So, I'm also a big Nacho Libre fan, so Nacho.
What's the craziest message, or the biggest person that's kind of messaged you through this? Or are there a couple of them?
Oh, I don't even know. Nothing crazy, obviously, There's been a lot of great, podcasts reached out, people on Fox and just looking for interviews. But something that really stood out to me a little bit was Mr. Olympia. He sent me a message. I apologize for forgetting his name, but I saw it, Mr. Olympia, and won the Arnold Classic, all that good stuff. Big bodybuilder guy, and he just sent like, hey man, like, great job, congrats. So that was exciting. A lot of leaders in the Air Force have been reaching out to me. The superintendent of the Air Force Academy, talked to him a little bit. So, just getting those, congratulations is just, I feel like I reached a lot of people with this. And, some people that might have not always been wrestling fans, they're starting to, they're like, hey, I watched your match, this is crazy. And, that's awesome they watched that match, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, because that's going to be a hard match to top for the rest of your wrestling fan career.
That's the thing about yours, right? It reached across the sea. It's over, Daily Mail's writing about it. Do you fully understand the impact that win had?
I don't even know if I do yet. For me and myself, my team, my coaches, my family, we had one goal at the beginning of the year, and that was to be a national champion. I think we're more focused on our goals versus the repercussion or what's going to happen after that. You're not repercussion, but the secondhand effects. And obviously, when you take down someone pretty big, a lot of people are going to hear about it and see about it. But I'm still just grateful that I was able to be a Cowboy this year and bring home that national title for Stillwater.
What's it like representing the Air Force, Oklahoma State, your family, and the United States when you do it?
Absolutely. It's an absolute blessing and an honor. From day one when I started wrestling on world teams and national teams, making those teams, going overseas and wrestling, I was very proud, because not only was I representing the United States of America, I was also representing the Air Force, what I stand for, my brand, and like I said, my family. So being able to do that on a big stage with a lot of people watching, it's just, I love it. I plan on keep spreading my message, keep spreading the word of God, keep spreading what the Lord's done in my life and what the opportunities the Air Force has brought to me. The Air Force WCAP, Air Force World Class Athlete Program has had a huge part in this. They're the people that, allowed me to come in here and wrestle and use my eligibility. So if it weren't for people like that supporting me in my corner, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have won that national title without them.
So what's it look like now for you?
The next, immediately, we got the U.S. Open, we got the world team. That's obviously the next step. I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon. We had our celebration, but it's time to get back to work. It's great to celebrate, but I don't want to fall behind. I still need to improve my wrestling, obviously. There's no perfect wrestling match, got to dial it in again, and the next couple of years will be trying to make the world team, then obviously the Olympic team for LA 2028.
What's it meant for this 1 year? And obviously you're not going anywhere, but the 1 year you had here, what did it mean?
Man, it was special. Stillwater's a special place. I've been watching these matches, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, since I was 10, 11 years old. So seeing my visions when I was a kid and being on the mat, because people always say, I love to inspire the youth right now because maybe someday they'll be in the position I'm in. And because that was me. One of those days I was on the side of the mat, watching the Cowboys wrestle, and my dad would give me a bump on the shoulder, and especially in that OSU arena, here in Gallagher Iba, he said that once, like, hey, son, like, this is gonna be you someday. You're gonna be there. I'm gonna be watching you get your hand raised. And situations like that, it's very special. But I went to the Air Force Academy. I was able to represent them, but I just think it's so unique that exact same gym where I was with my dad, he reminded me, hey, just let you know, I told you a long time ago that you're gonna be in this gym getting your hand raised. So being able to put on a show for the community here and be in Stillwater and be able to meet the fans, meet everyone, it's just been it's been unbelievable. It's been an absolute blessing of the year.
What's it like to be able to tell your story for people that don't know your story now that you're on this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I don't want to change who I am, and I really think it's just big to encourage people to know that they are hurt, and everyone has their own story, and feel free to share it. A lot of people sometimes they feel like their wrestling career, whatever they're doing, is a little bit insignificant, but whenever someone reaches out to me on Instagram or anything and asks for advice, I try to help them because I want to give back, because there's so many people that have been in that situation that are giving back to me, and so it's only right of me to try to inspire the next generation of wrestlers.
What was that salute like for you?
Oh my gosh, you talk about solid steel, solid gold. Like, I was like, man, this is my commander-in-chief. This is the president of the United States. So being able to have him there and witness that and just pull up that salute, it just felt like a slow motion, and it felt solid, if that makes any sense. Nice and crispy. It was perfect. Everything about that moment, some of the pictures I've seen, and that's a moment I'll remember for the rest of my life. And hopefully the pictures we get from that's going to be something I put on my wall and wake up and look at every single morning.